Hi, Carl Schilling here again with you for another episode of Financial Transformation. And today we're going to talk about one of the great psychological impacts of investing, and we're going to talk about self-sabotage. Okay, so they're all in this white paper, the 7 most damaging investing behaviors. Once again, this white paper is here on our interactive version of this video, so you can just kind of hit the link and get the white paper. Okay, you'll have that white paper to review consistently over time, and keep going over these principles. As it is with everything in financial transformation, what I'm trying to help you do is trying to help you first recognize a behavior, and then after you recognize a behavior, start to take the steps to erase and change the behavior. This is really a step-by-step process, because unawareness is something that people are basically unconscious to. When you're unaware, you don't know. You're not aware that you don't know something. Okay, so in theory, when you're unaware, you don't know what you don't know. And therefore, by not knowing, you can't do anything about it. So unawareness is really a state of unconsciousness. You just are not conscious at all. You might as well be lying on the floor, knocked out cold, when it comes to these other issues around you that you're totally unaware of. Now, remember, we live in the richest nation in the world. Some say in the civilization of our entire being. That's debatable. But at the same time, in the richest nation in the world, we have the highest level of financial illiteracy. This is the direct problem for people. This is why people struggle with money. This is why 95% of the population never, ever gets close to achieving financial independence. It's not just bad decisions. It's not silliness. It's not stupidity. It's none of those things. It's a total lack of awareness. So today we're going to start off by talking about the power of self-sabotage. I mean, it goes on all the time. And the reason for this is we like to create, the human nature is we like to create a net, a safety net. And by creating a safety net, what we do for ourselves is we create excuses and we create reasons for failure. Okay, we don't know we're doing this intentionally, but we do it. So we create that escape hatch. So if we don't get what we want, if we don't achieve what we thought we were seeking to do, we're not all in. We are halfway in, because we're allowing ourselves the ability to have an excuse when it doesn't go the way we want it to go. Now, that's human nature, by the way. That's not a character flaw. It's part of who you are, who we all are. It's just a matter of self-sabotage. So really what is commonly known as is self-handicapping. Okay? So we all have the propensity to create self-fulfilling obstacles. Okay? This allows all of us to fail without feeling any great remorse. Okay? Or no guilt. Because we set a limitation that gives us an excuse in case we do fail. Now, that's no way to succeed, because ultimately you definitely attract to yourself that which you're putting out. So therefore, your avoidance is actually what you're moving towards. That which you're trying to avoid is exactly what you will accomplish. And that's a form of self-sabotage. Now, before we move deeper into our look at self-sabotage today, I did want to once again mention to you our friends over, right above my head, friends over at EXP. Because EXP is changing the landscape of real estate as we know it. I mean, if you are a buyer, or if you're looking to do something in real estate, look up EXP. Look for an EXP agent in your area. But at the same time, if you're an agent, if you have a license, the only place where you can build a practice and build a financial world for yourself that'll have direct residual and passive income as a realtor, the only place you can find that is at EXP. Now, they are changing the nature of the entire industry, and they will be in 3 to 5 years, they will be the biggest operation in the industry. So the time to get on that ship is now, because that ship's been sailing. They are now over 15,000 agents. They started out just several years ago at 500 agents. Last year, they closed out the year with 6,500 agents. So you can see they've already doubled this year alone. So call my friends Kyle Handy and let them talk to you about how to establish your own EXP operation and how to get direct residual and passive income. Call them today, okay? Now, going back on self-sabotage, this basically, I want you to think about times. If you're a salesperson watching this, think about a time when you were going to have a very important presentation, okay? But you know, and I know that on the way to that important presentation, suddenly you started to feel a little ill, or you had yourself a built-in excuse so that you'd suck it up and you'd go make the presentation anyway. But you'd have the ability to say that I wasn't at my best today. I wasn't 100%. That's why it didn't work out. Okay. So, but you created that self-limitation before you even got in the room. It's the same with, say you're playing golf, got a little minor opportunity to play in a little bit of a tournament, and suddenly your back starts aching. Okay. Why did your back start aching? Well, your back started aching so that you could create a limitation for yourself that would identify, in case you did not win this tournament, why you didn't win the tournament. It would be a comfortable, convenient excuse. And this is what happens with money, okay? Because it's a psychological trigger that moves us directly towards what we're attempting to avoid. So if you're looking with money and you're risking money and you're taking an opportunity with a risk, you set the self-limitation before you even get going. You already have moved yourself into a position where you're going to lose. And comfortably, you can lose money or make a poor financial decision. Okay? But what you're really doing is you're locking in that actual event. You are creating the failure. You are making it happen because you are obviously always moving towards that what you're trying to avoid. So instead of moving towards what you want, you're moving towards what you're trying to avoid because you've set this protective net. So you have to fly without a net. I mean, if there's a message there anywhere in your financial life, you need to fly without a net. Now, that does not mean that you bypass due diligence and everything to look into everything and to make sure you have all the right information before making a decision. But you need to fly without a net. You cannot build predetermined limitations for failure that will allow you to comfortably fail. So in other words, what I was told many times ago by a great coach many, many years ago during my athletic career, which carried over to my business career, and it made a lot of sense, was that the pain of failure has to exceed the joy and thrill of accomplishment. Now think about that. The pain of failure has to be worse. It has to exceed the joy and thrill you get from accomplishing your goal. Now, if you do that, you'll constantly be moving towards the joy and thrill of accomplishment and away from the pain of failure. So before we finalize and close out on this behavior trait that is so damaging, I wanted to once again speak to you about financial transformation. Now, back in the beginning of this year, I did a course for financial transformation, put it on video, and it's out there in 8 modules and 64 units in each module, 64 lessons. It's a solid, I'd say 16 hours worth of information on how to build these proper behaviors, how to change the poor behaviors, and maybe how to perceive money in a different viewpoint, and a unique viewpoint, as it were, because so many people don't see it this way. So we're counterintuitive in that. Now, that'll be up there for soon for the offer, but prior to that, we are creating the inner circle, and the inner circle is your opportunity to formulate and be part of a mastermind group where we will work together with you live, and we will work on all of these issues in financial transformation. So call me. You'll see right here the offering for the Inner Circle membership. Okay, look at that little video and call me about becoming an Inner Circle member, because it can definitively change your life. It will put you into the attainment of financial independence. I can promise you that. Okay. So in closing now today with psychology of investing and basically self-sabotage, um, I wanted to identify for you that you need to start to pull out these areas where you are self-sabotaging. Now, we all do it. Okay, so anyone watching this today, if you say I'm not doing it, sadly, you're lying to yourself because you do it. Because we all do it. I still do it. Everybody has this little bit of a cog where they have to constantly work towards eliminating it. I mean, this is constant effort. That's why the journal is so important, because in journaling, you can start to recognize, what's going on emotionally, feeling wise, what your thought process is in everything. And you can start to recognize these self-sabotaging thoughts when you get them down on paper. It's the only way to recognize them. Okay. Until the event happens. Now and most people don't even recognize it after it's over. When it's impacted them, they don't recognize why it happened. They just know it happened. So I really want you to recognize that you have to change this behavior. You have to get above and beyond the total limitation of self-sabotage. And it all starts by setting false limitations for yourself. Because all limitations are self-inflicted. All limitations are created by us. I mean, we live in a society and a world that has basically no limitation. Now, every limitation we see or we perceive is usually something that we could control and we could break through. But maybe we choose not to break through. Maybe it's environmental. Maybe it's the poor me scenario. Maybe it's a situation about I never got a chance. Maybe it's a situation where I didn't get the right education or I don't know the right people. All these things are self-sabotaging. These are limitations that we have set for ourselves in order to make us feel comfortable when we ultimately fail. And that's not a good scenario. There's no reason to fail. Everybody could succeed if they choose to make the sacrifice, pay the price, and understand what success truly is. So financial success is nothing more than making smart decisions about money. But prior to making smart decisions about money, we need to understand what is money. How does money work? Why do I do the things I do with money? What does money mean to me? What's the most important thing about money to me? All these have to be part of your decision-making process before you make decisions. And yet, very few people recognize any of this. They just go willy-nilly making decisions that constantly come back and haunt them, and yet they don't know why. So I'm here to tell you, we can help you break through this. This is not that big an issue to break through. But again, you can't break through something you're not aware of. It's impossible. You don't know that there's a wall that you need to break through because you don't see the wall. You're unaware that the wall is there. Now, once you run into the wall and you hit it, you then say, wow, I didn't know a wall was there. Now I know there's a wall there. So now what do I do? Okay. And that's really the power of self-sabotage. That's what's going on. So, once you're freed to avoid pain, you can comfortably do the due diligence and work through a proper decision-making process. Once you do that, remember, just break through. Okay. Now go back to your journal and write down past experiences where you created self-sabotage. I know it's going to be painful. I know it will be, but you can get it done. Okay. And this is the only way objectively you can look through these things. So how have I sabotaged myself in the past? Get it down. Why did I fall victim in this pitfall? Okay. How can I recognize self-sabotage in the future? Create 10 questions of your own. It's very important. These are areas that are going to make you much more wealthy. These are areas that are going to help you be successful with money. So again, I'm Carl Schilling. I'll see you tomorrow in our next episode of Financial Transformation. Remember, money's always just money. make the right decisions more than not, and become aware of how to treat yourself financially. Have a great day. Look forward to speaking with you soon.